What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to Album of the Month, and for this month we're actually going to be throwing it back to an album that came out back in February. It is the 1975's I Like It When You Sleep For You're So Beautiful Yet So Unaware of It. And the reason I'm choosing this album for June is because even though it came out back in February, I have still been consistently listening to it and just really enjoying it ever since then. And this is an album I didn't get to talk about on my channel. I should have done an album review way back when, but I didn't, so here we are, and I just couldn't resist in sharing my thoughts with you guys. So let's rewind way back to the week where this album was coming out. Now, I've always been a casual fan of the 1975. I enjoyed their self-titled record, so I was ready to give this new one a chance. Once I got a hold of that leak, I listened to it in a very different environment than I usually listen to stuff. Normally when I'm listening to an album, I'm kind of distracted, doing whatever else I normally do, but for this album, I honestly just had my headphones in. The lights were all out. I was laying down in my bed in my dorm room, had my eyes shut. I was just listening to the music so I could take in purely the music and just really listen to it. I remember distinctly just laying there and being blown away by every single song. I wasn't distracted by anything. I was really just listening to it in like the purest form. Now, this album would be nearly flawless if it wasn't for the few, purely instrumental tracks that I think just kind of were used to take up space. I don't dislike them, but I feel like they weren't as necessary. That's pretty much the only problem I've ever had with this album. I think those are the only skippable songs on this record, but I ain't even mad because honestly every other song just makes up for that. Now, this album truly shines with all of these 80s influences on it. It's very synth heavy, it's ambient, it's atmospheric, and it's honestly such an enjoyable listen every single time through because there's songs with catchy choruses that put you in a really good mood, while at the same time there are darker songs on here that really make you think. This album explores themes of drugs, relationships, mental health, religion, and when it comes to lyricism, it's just a very honest record all around. On the front half, we have songs with really catchy, addictive choruses such as Love Me, Ugh, and She's American. Then there's a more serious song towards the middle of the album called If I Believe You, which has become one of my favorites on this record. He's questioning faith in God, and he's like having these revelations and all these drug experiences that are kind of opening his mind. I remember hearing this the very first time and it was almost euphoric. I love the line, "If I'm lost, then how can I find myself?" I love that so much. Somebody Else is the song that I've probably come back to the most on this album. It might be my top favorite. The instrumental track on this thing is just my favorite thing ever, and the vocals are so ambient and just irresistible. And some other songs that stand out to me are The Sound and This Must Be My Dream, which are both very 80s inspired. And the instrumentation on this record as a whole is just absolutely fantastic. We see some really great guitar work and bass work, alongside some really interesting electronic sounds that shine through in all of these songs, and it really just makes for an honestly heavenly listen, to my ears. Now, the end of this album is very different. It kind of takes a different shift and gets more serious and dark. The two songs that close the album are acoustic. The first one is about the loss of Maddie's grandmother, where he's again questioning God's existence, and he's a little bit angry, and he's admitting to everyone and himself that he's become a mess ever since she passed away. And then the other one, She Lays Down, is about his mother and her depression and even drug use. So Maddie's obviously being very honest and opening up a lot on this album lyrically, especially in those last two songs. They're very personal for him. In all, I Like It When You Sleep For You're So Beautiful Yet So Unaware of It is a masterpiece, at least to me. I honestly feel that way. I just said it. It's true. That's how I feel about it. I think this might end up being my favorite album of 2016 if there isn't something that comes out better. I'm never not in the mood to listen to one of these songs. I can definitely tell that I'm going to be coming back to this album for years to come, for a really long time. That's how good it is. I just find it to be so memorable, and like I said, the only problem I have is some of those filler tracks, which aren't even bad songs either. I can listen to them. But like I said, the rest of the album totally makes up for that completely. Those songs are just too good that I forget about those other ones. Now, if you haven't heard this album yet, please do yourself a favor and give it a listen all the way through. Just give it a chance. It's so different, and honestly my favorite record of the year so far. So thank you all so much for watching Album of the Month. I know this wasn't an album that came out in June, but I love this album just as much, even though it's a few months old and everyone's pretty much heard it by now, hopefully. But I still wanted to share my thoughts with you guys because I do love it that much and I'm still listening to it on the daily. So if you did enjoy this, make sure to give the video a thumbs up and let me know your thoughts about this album in the comments down below. What's your favorite song from it? Let me know. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and I will see you guys next time.